Welcome back to Titan Review. My name is Greg Norman, your host. We're getting a chance to talk to Chris Colin before the first season matchup against Marquette on the road next Tuesday. We've talked a little bit about the Notre Dame prospect, but let's really kind of concentrate on what have you been doing to get ready for Marquette?
We're just trying to gain experience, and that was nice to play Notre Dame and kind of play at a different speed than we practice. It was good to see, and I think we've had a good week of trying to up that tempo and level. A lot of our young guys hadn't seen anything close to that in their lives, so it was a good lesson. While we had some okay responses, I think we're going to try to make those better and not take a step back, take a step forward. So, we're a very young, inexperienced team in a lot of positions offensively. So that, we'll hope that we're a little bit, when you get a guy like that Woodward guy that they have for them, is one of the best players, I think, in the country and definitely a PLL level player. We hope that, seeing a team like Notre Dame will help us on Tuesday. Because man, they got some very talented guys that have been around the block for a while.
They'll have 2 games under their belt before they play you. Obviously, they went to Air Force, had a good victory out there to 12-6. I think they play Lindenwood today, if I'm not mistaken. So is that an advantage
Today
for
at
them?
3 o'clock.
Yeah, is that an advantage for them?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the more times you play, I'd love to play as many games and scrimmages as I could, like we do with what we do as much as we can with what we're allowed to do. So the more games when you get into it, it's there's and you've been doing this long enough to know that a game is always different than practice. It's hard to emulate the speed and kind of the emotions and all the things that go on with the game.
Against Notre Dame, you come off of that kind of happy, a little bit pleased with things looking a little bit more gritty than you might have been in the past. Do you ratchet up practice or do you ratchet down practice in terms of the intensity to get ready for Marquette?
I think the first half we ratcheted it up to keep the speed, and we've just been trying to teach, right? Since we're very inexperienced, I'll tell you, we had probably the best. And again, it's something we've struggled with injuries and things like that in past years, but we've got a scout unit that is really owning it and really doing a great job. And Coach Hart is leading that. And I'll tell you, as a guy who's a former scout team guy for my whole college career, having a real fired up scout team that's learning what Marquette does and trying to emulate during the week, week to week your opponent, it's a super valuable thing, and I hope it pays some dividends, this week and beyond.
Okay. I want to switch subjects really quick because it's a conversation that everybody's having almost every sport. The NIL has had good reviews and bad reviews. The question I have for you is, are you participating? And if you are, is it worth it? And more importantly, do you have enough resources to really compete in the NIL?
Like the University of Michigan stuff, we don't. But my whole job is trying to find workarounds, and we do like a great interview we're doing with you, right? This is we try to do the best we can and have interested people and good people around us that help us. And I've kind of taken the NLI as an approach that where maybe we don't have as much scholarship money and things like that, and NLI opens up an opportunity where traditionally you'd have to endow a scholarship. So you'd have to give, a giant amount of money for a little bit every year. But, an NLI deal, you can make a 2 or 3 year deal with a kid who's, really good at accounting and, maybe he's going to play lacrosse and they're going to pay some of his expenses for school and housing. And then he's going to maybe go and work as an accountant and be a lacrosse player. So I've been trying to kind of take a different approach where instead of trying to give extras and things like that, I'm trying to fill in gaps and really almost give, kids internships and things like that, because, we have these great kids that do great in the professional world after lacrosse. Cause while we might not have a lot of nice things as an athletic, team and department, we educate kids so well that, I think, you put these kids in front of, a couple folks, small business people, things like that, people with, the capability and the capacity to do it. You just do it in kind of a more non-traditional way, right? That's, So we've been working on a few of those things, and I think in the near future we've gotten pretty close, but we'll have some guys that, hey, maybe they're gonna, get some NLI money and then work as a salesperson and then play lacrosse and get a little bit more than what you would get in a summer internship, and kind of make it a holistic approach. So, you're trying to find every angle you can within in the system to benefit the kids and to put, the most you can together, right? So yeah, that's the way I'm viewing NLI. It's probably not the way it's reported in the newspaper, or these guys in the big time football and everything that are getting, more money than they would in the NFL. But for us, we got to do the best we can. So I've been spending a lot of my time reaching out with folks, having coffees and things with business people, saying, hey, like, this would be a great guy to invest in. He's a wonderful human being. You can help him with his lacrosse, his school, and then he can maybe do some work and go out in the community and do good work for you. So yeah, I'm taking a different angle, as I always do, Greg.
I want to be blunt for a second. Is the non-traditional approach answer you just gave me for 2 minutes basically enough to say that you don't have as much as you need? Is that a fair estimation?
Oh no, we never do. I mean, again, I don't think that's I think that, again, this could be a whole hour long Zoom about, the differences in college. I mean, even the NCAA is coming out with the idea of a two-tiered system, right? So yeah, I mean, again, it's changing, it's different, it's going to be different in 5 years, and better or for worse, are we funding, adjunct professors, or are we paying kids on the field that are risking their lives? So, I don't know. It's all going to be your perspective and how you view what's valuable and what's not. But my point is, the door's open, and either you're going to try to walk through it within the context of who you are, or you're not. So, um,
I'm
I'm
not.
going to I always try to do the best I can, and that's about it.
No, and I get that. And I'll leave that after this last question. If would you be a? I'm not just trying to disparage lack of having or having as much as you need, but would it be fair to say you might be a better team if you had more financial resources?
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, that's I mean, you can go down. I mean, just generally in lacrosse, you look at success levels, top to bottom, and a lot has to do with spending and support, right? So, um, while there's a few outliers and things that kind of go up and down, the general trends go on support, right? Like, gosh, the Big Ten and the ACC, there's a whole level of support for lacrosse there than there is in every other conference, right? And typically that's why they do so well, right? And the Big East is behind them, and then you got pretty much the rest of us, right? So, yeah, I mean, anytime support and interest, like, it just becomes another thing for me to do. I got to go out, and if I talk to a car dealer, like, say, hey, maybe you'd be interested in this, in the, a couple kids working in your office, selling a car, fixing a car, whatever the situation is. And now NLI is just another way that you can kind of support a school and support a bunch of student athletes. So, we're just going to try the best we can with it and
Yeah,
try to
no,
figure things out.
and I don't think there's any doubt that we're in the Wild West at the moment with the program, because I don't think there's any guardrails anywhere, and I think that's one of the things the NCAA is talking about, putting in some guardrails and figuring
Yeah.
out equity. If nothing else, they may be able to learn from the National Football League, because you certainly have to argue that there's a certain amount of equity in the National Football League that would operate. And at some point, the NCAA is going to have to get their hands around it, because a college quarterback's not worth $20 million a year. I'm sorry, it's not. That's a personal opinion, but
Yeah.
it is what it is, and that's a longer question. But let me leave it at that. I appreciate
Well,
your answer.
I I always joke that University of Michigan football sells $1 million of hot dogs every home game, right? Not and now when you add alcohol and all the other things that are going into it, there's money to be had at that big time level sport, and I don't think lacrosse is in it. I know that as a coaching association, there's been a lot of talk, and I know you've interviewed John Danowski, and I think he would be the most intelligent person on this. I think he's thought about it the most, and he's a real smart guy. It might be a great interview for you to just talk to him about NLI. I think he's got a great perspective on it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And I think
when
if
it comes to lacrosse.
we have anybody to blame for all of this, go back to probably the late 60s and Don Canham, the great athletic director at Michigan, envisioning $1 million gate with 100,000 seats. He just never figured that price, because in those days, you got to remember too, in those days you had band day. So you'd have, 15, 1,800 kids, 2,000 kids for band day that there were tickets they could sell. And it changed the landscape. And we've been in a long 30 or 40 or 50-year war to provide for those athletes and television contracts. So that's another subject for another day. Last question. You're
Yeah. Well, you've said this. You've sat next to my parents, so and boy, those tickets are expensive.
yes,
Right
they
at the
are.
University of Michigan, I think you sat in John's seats. You sat next to my parents. It's man, when my dad tells me how much those cost, I mean, I get it. They got to pay the players.
Best of luck at Marquette. You'll leave on Monday, I'm assuming, to head over there.
Yep, we'll leave Monday and game Tuesday at 2:00.
Good luck at Marquette. We will catch you next time. I'm going to talk a little bit about VMI, and hopefully after we win the first one at Marquette, we'll go from there. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Titan Review. We're talking with Andrew Stimmel, head coach at Marquette University in Milwaukee, and the University of Detroit Mercy gets a chance to take them on next Tuesday. And you guys have had a great start to the season so far with the game at Air Force, 12-6 winner on the road. And just talk a little bit about the preseason, because you're getting started a little quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, it's been a good preseason. We really went down and challenged ourselves at Duke a few weeks ago, and really felt like playing, arguably the best team in the country, I would say, most talented team in the country, I think, for sure. And I thought we did some good things, and at other times I thought really got exposed for some of the things that we weren't good at, and we're able to get better last week through that film, and really took a step. And again, just playing an Air Force team that's always really well coached and has really good talent, and is going to be buttoned up early on in the season. I think you test yourself against a military academy early. It's always going to be something that's revealing as well. So we're excited about getting that win last week, but moving forward, and got to keep getting better here as the season progresses.
Lindenwood this weekend?
Tomorrow after
Friday. Okay.
Yep.
And you play them at home.
Yep.
And it was kind of cool. You're allowing to, playing them. Not that it's not cool to play them. I'm going to all edit this. You're playing Lindenwood on Friday, and the cool part of that is that they're disbanding a program, so they get a chance to make a trip to Milwaukee and play one of the better programs in the country. So that's kind of cool for their kids.
Yeah, I mean, it was really important for us. I think most of their games, people, kept them on the schedule. I don't think, just for what's happening next year, never crossed my mind that should change kind of the agreement that we had. And, have a lot of respect for Jimmy, who's the head coach there. And, ultimately just want to do right by those kids, right. I think they deserve to play this season. And, I really hope as those kids move on and kind of we know what's going to happen with the program, they all find a home and can kind of continue to play this great game that we all love.
You mentioned, you can't really look at a team in February, or especially early February, and expect what it's going to look like at the end of April. That's absolutely true, because there have been so many. I think a few years ago when Virginia, when Dom Stars lost a number of defensemen, they went to a zone defense, which was, of course, unheard of, and they win a national championship. And all of a sudden, zones are talked about in the next few years, and off they go. University of Detroit Mercy's coming to town. They were at Notre Dame this past week and actually didn't fare too bad. Looked pretty good, much better and much improved from last year. I think there was a 10-4 final. I understand that they didn't play either of the studs that they've got there, the brothers, from that standpoint. But it looks like a much improved University of Detroit Mercy team. Do you have any thoughts on looking at film so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's still going to be last year for us. So, we expect them to have a great team, and we know we're going to have to play a great game to come out on top against them. So I think that's the unique thing I think about playing teams early, and playing teams. I think as they're getting going is. I think everybody early in the season kind of might be similar to last year, and then sometimes people are completely different, and it might be different personnel, or it might be just different schematics. And, I think that's part of the fun of playing early in the season is you have to be ready to adjust on the fly as a coach. And, your players have got to be kind of flexible, because I think you can you can start a season thinking, this is the type of team we're going to be, and maybe that's true, and then maybe it completely changes, like you said, and you got to change from a man defense to a zone, or change how you're playing offensively, and I think the best coaches and best teams are the ones that kind of adapt and continue to improve throughout the season, and so that's what we're looking forward to doing over these next couple games.
Kevin Corrigan, I talked to Kevin yesterday, and he said that UD looked like they may have had that sort of swagger, that nastiness back that they haven't had for a while. I think Chris has got them playing a little tougher than they have, and that's maybe because of the experience of that young group from last year. And that's always a tough team to face when you got somebody that's sort of on your hands a lot and can muscle you out. So that'll be an interesting premise to see whether or not you guys can handle that kind of pressure, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you can, but we'll see what happens.
No, for sure. I mean, listen, it's Chris does a great job. So, we're fully expecting a team to come in here and be really excited to play us, and really competitive game.
Are you going to be in the dome? And I asked the question because all of a sudden we're in the middle of February and it's 50 degrees and it's almost spring-like. You get a chance to pick between playing inside and outside, and if you had the weather, does it differ for you?
I mean, I think we would love the choice. Unfortunately for us, our outdoor stadium, it's a good and bad thing, double-edged sword, I would say, is natural grass. So we have to wait until that grass germinates, and the ground's got to be a certain temperature. So when we are able to get out there, it's a great venue. And really for us, I mean, it's not about playing indoors or outside. It's more of just we want to get as many fans exposed to this game as possible, especially in this area of the country. The dome is great. We're very grateful for it. And at the same time, we just would love to get as many fans to our games as possible, and just more limited capacity indoors, So it's a great venue. If anybody's, nearby or close, would obviously encourage everybody to come out to the game.
Your facility, much like Cleveland State, is that it's a little bit like the old Michigan Stadium. On the inside, you're so close to the action. You don't typically get that kind of, opportunity to be that uptight, up close to the process. So if you get a chance to spend that, certainly the facility down by the river down by the casino is also a great outdoor facility. We've had a chance to play there a couple of times with some club teams.
Yeah.
Last question, and that's highlights. You've had some games, you've had some experience. What can UAD expect from you on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to be kind of a team in progress, and I think we return a lot of guys from last year, so there's this veteran aspect to our team where I think our guys understands, the expectations. They've been playing in this program for a while at this point, and so we're very much, I think at this point, the best teams as the year goes on are much more player led than coach led, and we're really trying to double down on that and the number of older guys that we have, and their experience at the end of the day. Coaches certainly make an impact, but players are the ones making the plays, and we have a lot of trust in our group, and so our kind of expectations are just how we show up every single day, and a lot of what we talked about this past week was just being the best at getting better, and if we can be the best at getting better, we like our chances as we go through the season here.
Also nice to see two parochial schools get together to play, which typically is not. It's mostly state universities, but it's always fun to watch Marquette play. And appreciate your time, and best of luck next Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks so much. You too.